the Munich Security Conference, Vice President Vance condemned free speech violations in the UK, particularly. Could you respond? What is your message?
I have an idea. We have the man right here. Come on. Let's go, JD. We're putting you on stage.
Great. Yeah, look, I said what I said, which is that we do have, of course, a special relationship with our friends in the UK and also with some of our European allies, but we also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and by extension American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time. Well, no, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely right. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history.
Just when we thought Keir Starmer had mastered the art of saying absolutely nothing with maximum confidence, Elon Musk and JD Vance came flying in like a Tesla on fire with a wrecking ball made of free speech chaos. Elon tweeting like it's a courtroom transcript, and JD chiming in like the kid who just discovered Wi-Fi, and together they turned Starmer's carefully rehearsed soundbites into political confetti, exposing him in a way that left him looking like he'd lost a debate with his own reflection. Pure carnage, and you're going to love it.
Starmer, shoulder to shoulder with President Trump, bold as brass, declaring that we've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom. Starmer's not just bending the truth, he's taking it for a full spin cycle. He's proudly boasting about our history of free speech while conveniently forgetting about the Orwellian nightmare we're living in right now.
Keir Starmer, the man whose greatest talent seems to be looking serious while saying absolutely nothing that sticks, is basically a politician built to put free speech on ice, so committed to curbing expression that even a mime would struggle to keep quiet around him. Then enter Elon Musk and JD Vance, two people known for turbocharging conversations by saying what everyone else is too polite or too numb to utter. And what better target for their combined firepower than the UK's self-appointed champion of censorship, Starmer.
The owner of X, Elon Musk, has been tweeting over the past few days about your response to this crisis, about what's been going on. He's claimed that civil war in the UK is inevitable. He is a powerful voice. A lot of people follow him on Twitter. Are you worried about his impact, or might he have a point about some of the things he's saying?
My focus is on ensuring that our communities are safe. That is my sole focus. And I think it's very important for us all to support the police in what...
He's proudly boasting about our history of free speech while conveniently forgetting about the Orwellian nightmare we're living in right now. The recently enacted Online Safety Act is a prime example of this assault on liberty. Under the guise of protecting users, this draconian legislation imposes a legal responsibility on social media platforms to identify and mitigate illegal content or...
Let's start with the obvious. Keir Starmer on free speech is like a vegan at a barbecue, awkward, out of place, and desperately trying to convince everyone it's better for you, while secretly wishing it would all just disappear. He has this special knack for twisting free speech into a bureaucratic labyrinth where only approved opinions get VIP access, while anyone daring to challenge the status quo gets treated like a spam email marked dangerous content. The political equivalent of a safe space on steroids, where freedom is politely escorted out with a clipboard and a stern lecture.
Is freedom of speech dead in this country?
I'm not across the details of the particular case, but let me give you the principles that I would apply. Firstly, I'm strongly in favour of free speech. We've had free speech in this country for a very, very long time, and we protect it fiercely. I'm equally, though, against incitement to violence against other people. That has long been an offence in our country, and rightly so. And so I say, don't know the details of this case, but free speech, yes. Incitement to violence.
Now imagine Elon Musk, the human embodiment of say what you want, then do what you want, stepping onto the British political stage. He doesn't do quiet whispers or carefully crafted political doublespeak. Nope, he just tweets storms, buys entire companies on a whim, and somehow sends rockets into space while stirring more public debate than a parliament session on cheese regulations. And when Musk talks free speech, he means free, unfiltered, no apologies allowed speech. The kind that makes politicians clutch their pearls and sprint for the nearest safe space.
He wants Elon Musk gone, X turned off, and freedom of speech stamped out. Starmer himself has said he's going to look at social media laws in the wake of the riots and even revisit the Online Safety Act. And right on cue, of course, the Westminster elite are now circling. Guardian columnists got their knickers in a twist, saying Musk should be on trial in the UK for inciting the riots. And Keir Starmer's champagne socialist biographer, Tom Baldwin, called for regulation of social media platforms, even saying free speech was not absolute. Make no mistake, the minority racist idiots who caused the worst of these riots have opened the floodgates for a power grab of our civil liberties under this Labour government. And it's a crying shame that it's a US-based South African who's the only one with the balls to stick up for British citizens.
J.D. Vance, the Ohio-born author and sharp-tongued political figure who knows a thing or two about speaking blunt truths, isn't just knocking on the door of the free speech debate. He kicks it down wearing spiked boots, out to remind everyone that free speech isn't about pleasing everybody. It's about letting the chaos of honest conversation run wild, even if it's messy, uncomfortable, or downright offensive to a few delicate sensibilities.
Selling. Vice President J.D. Vance didn't mince his words. He pointed out that these infringements on free speech aren't just affecting us Brits, but American companies and American citizens.
What happens when Elon Musk and J.D. Vance collide with Keir Starmer's pristine, carefully curated version of free speech? Spoiler, Starmer doesn't even get a chance to open his mouth before the roasting begins. Because Musk and Vance aren't interested in politeness or platitudes, they want the truth served sizzling hot, no chaser. Starmer's free speech game looks like it was designed by someone who believes in freedom only if it's silent, polite and politely, where critics and dissenters risk being labelled extremists or conspiracy theorists faster than you can say cancel culture. The irony, Starmer once fancied himself a human rights lawyer, a defender of the very liberties he now seems hellbent on throttling. Maybe figuring courtroom drama was too slow, so he pivoted to political repression for the big leagues. Musk's take? If Starmer's version of free speech were a car, it would be a rusty, government-issued vehicle powered by bureaucratic red tape and running strictly on the fumes of spin. Musk doesn't have time for that. He wants a world where ideas compete freely in the marketplace of thoughts without a regulatory referee calling fouls every 5 seconds. And when he critiques Starmer's restrictions, it hits like a slap across British politics. A reminder that free speech isn't a privilege you earn by towing the line. It's a right you exercise whether the powers that be like it or not.
Elon is holding Keir Starmer to account. He's not going to back down no matter how much they threaten legal action. Elon will stand his ground because he is on a mission for free speech. That is why he took over Twitter. And I feel like we can sleep at night knowing that even if the UK government manages to get the likes of Meta to do what they say, Elon is going to stand up for us. He's going to do everything in his power to make sure that we still have a platform where we have.
J.D. Vance is probably sitting back, shaking his head with that trademark mix of bemusement and exasperation. Because he knows Keir Starmer's approach isn't just ineffective, it's downright dangerous, silencing voices, stamping out inconvenient opinions, and turning free speech into a weaponized checklist doesn't build a stronger society, it fractures it. And that fracture is already widening under Starmer's watch, thanks to his pawns playing political censor-chief. But let's be real, this isn't just a politician being a bit heavy-handed with the mic. Starmer's approach reads like a cautionary tale about how power corrupts the very concept of freedom, with his government cozying up to tech companies to police content, ramping up surveillance and eagerly labelling dissent as hate speech or misinformation. A recipe for a quiet, tightly controlled public square where you can only speak if your words are approved by someone more concerned with maintaining power than promoting truth. Sounds like a dystopian novel? Nope. Welcome to the future. Courtesy of Starmer's blueprint. Meanwhile, Musk is out there literally relaunching Twitter to push back against this creeping censorship. Sure, he's no saint, the guy is more complicated than a Rubik's Cube at a philosophy convention. But at least Musk injects a dose of reality into the conversation, holding up a mirror to Starmer's free speech fantasy and reflecting how it suppresses innovation, debate, and frankly, common sense.
Just remind ourselves just a little bit of what JD Vance has been saying at the Munich Security Conference this afternoon. Then we'll talk to John McTernan. But in the last hour, the Vice President has attacked Britain's approach to freedom of speech.
I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith-Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on.
JD Vance adds his own flavour to the roast by pointing out how Keir Starmer's tactics alienate exactly the people who could benefit most from open dialogue. When free speech becomes a privilege for the elite or a tool to silence working-class voices, the whole system loses legitimacy. Vance knows this from his own experiences and writings. People don't want their speech policed by out-of-touch politicians. They want a platform where their stories, frustrations and ideas can live, breathe and clash. So when Musk and Vance turn their sights on Starmer, it's like a spotlight illuminating the absurdity of his free speech policy. It's not about protecting anyone, it's about control, about power, about turning the UK into a country where saying the wrong thing gets you more than just an awkward conversation. It lands you on a digital blacklist faster than you can refresh your browser. And if Starmer thought he could dodge this criticism by hiding behind legal jargon or bureaucratic doublespeak, he clearly hasn't met these two. Musk's directness and Vance's piercing commentary shred any pretense of nuance or diplomacy. They're not interested in the political theatre of pretending. Free speech can be neatly boxed into acceptable and unacceptable categories. They want it all, the messy, the uncomfortable, the inconvenient truths included.
Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in.
What's truly hilarious is that Keir Starmer's attempt to control speech under the guise of protecting democracy actually undermines it. You can't defend democracy by throttling the very debates that make it thrive. It's like trying to win a race by walking backward, pointless and destined for a spectacular faceplant. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is out here playing a real-life game of political chess, putting Starmer's moves in check and checkmate without breaking a sweat. Musk's vision for free speech isn't some libertarian daydream. It's a practical response to the very real dangers of censorship wielded as a political weapon. And JD Vance? He's the heavy hitter reminding us that when speech is muzzled, the voices of the people become whispers in the dark, easy to ignore, impossible to trust. Starmer's version of free speech is a museum piece frozen in a time when politicians could dictate narratives without pushback, and Musk and Vance are the wrecking balls smashing through that glass case, exposing it as outdated, hypocritical, and downright dangerous. So next time Starmer lectures about free speech, just remember, while he's busy guarding the gates of an imaginary speech fortress, Elon Musk is blasting the walls down with rockets of reality, and JD Vance is leading the charge with a megaphone of truth.
I wonder why Elon Musk has suddenly got a really strong interest in Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, because let's be honest, Barry, all of those statements that Labour MPs made about Donald Trump, all of those bizarre statements they made about Elon Musk, guess what? These guys don't really like that. They don't like being abused. They don't like being insulted. So they're going to call you out when you fail, like when you fail.
Free speech isn't about comfort or control. It's chaos, challenge, and sometimes controversy. And if you can't handle that, you shouldn't pretend to defend it. Yet Keir Starmer keeps quietly rewriting the rulebook, turning public discourse into a sterile sandbox where only sanitised opinions get to play, micromanaging debate like it's a committee meeting and moderating feelings instead of ideas. Meanwhile, Elon Musk flies a neon blimp over Westminster that screams, "Say what you mean," refusing filters, setting fire to political spin, and reminding everyone what real free speech looks like: loud, unfiltered, and unstoppable, with JD Vance backing him up to keep the spotlight on Starmer's sterile, controlled approach.